I am not a king, I am not a saint. I have problems in my head, my friends told me I've changed. And I used to be gold like the first man made. Now I'm buried in the earth till the rock.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into the origins of COVID-19, where things stand now in 2025.
Right. We've got a stack of info science papers, intel reports, government findings.
Yeah, lots to sift through. Our mission is basically to figure out the most likely story, but also, be clear about what we still don't know for sure.
Absolutely. And it really boils down to two main ideas, doesn't it? Natural spillover from animals or an accidental lab release.
Let's start with the spillover idea. It's kind of the leading theory in the scientific world, yeah.
It is, largely because it fits the pattern of other coronaviruses we've seen emerge. Think SARS, MERS.
And the Huan seafood market in Wuhan was right in the middle of it early on.
Definitely a key location. You had this geographical cluster of early cases, strong epidemiological links.
Plus, they found the virus, SARS-CoV-2, on surfaces there, and even connected to some animal products. Raccoon dogs, civet cats.
Exactly. Though it's worth mentioning, some thinking is the market might have been more of an amplification site. The first jump, the actual spillover, might have happened somewhere else first.
Okay, interesting. And the ultimate source is likely bats.
The genetics point strongly that way. We see about 96% similarity to known bat coronaviruses, like RATG13, BANL52.
But we haven't found the exact bat virus or the animal it might have passed through to get to humans.
Not definitively pinned down, no. That intermediate host, or even the direct bat precursor, is still, elusive.
But there's evidence of multiple jumps at the market, lineage A and B, I think.
Correct. At least two separate introductions into people at Huanan. That finding actually strengthens the natural origin argument. Multiple spillovers are more consistent with exposure at a market.
Okay, let's switch gears then. The lab leak theory. This centers on the Wuhan Institute of Virology, the WIV.
Right. Its location in Wuhan combined with the fact that they were actively researching coronaviruses, including bat viruses.
And doing gain-of-function research. Could you quickly explain that?
Sure. It's basically research that involves modifying a pathogen, like a virus, to see how those changes affect its characteristics like transmissibility or virulence. The aim is often to understand potential pandemic threats.
Got it. And there were concerns about safety there.
There were. Reports of potential biosafety lapses, staff maybe not having enough training. Even U.S. Embassy cables from 2018 mentioned some worries.
And U.S. funding for some research there was eventually suspended, citing transparency issues.
That's right. Then there were also these intelligence reports suggesting some WIV researchers got sick in fall 2019, symptoms sounding like COVID.
Which the WIV denies.
They do deny it, yes. But it's part of the picture that fuels the lab leak hypothesis.
What about the virus itself? The furin cleavage site was a big deal early on.
Huge point of discussion. It helps the virus enter human cells more easily. Some argued its structure looked, potentially engineered.
But others pushed back.
Yeah, those favoring natural origin point out that similar features can arise naturally through recombination, and such sites have been found in other, more recently discovered bat coronaviruses.
But the lab leak proponents point to specific genetic code details.
They do, like certain unique codons. However, it's important to state the broad scientific consensus and the U.S. intelligence assessment is that there's no verified evidence it was deliberately engineered.
Though they add the caveat that some modifications might be hard to spot.
Exactly, which leaves room for uncertainty.
This also brings specific institutions and people into focus. The WIV itself, allegations about military collaboration, maybe deleting data.
Yes, those concerns about transparency and lack of full cooperation with investigators have been persistent.
And EcoHealth Alliance, Peter Daszak, they funded WIV work. They face criticism too, right? Conflicts of interest, obstructing inquiries.
Right, and that culminated in HHS debarring them from federal funding in early 2025 based on findings from a congressional probe.
Dr. Fauci also faced scrutiny over alleged downplaying of the lab leak possibility and how some early scientific papers were handled.
There were certainly questions raised about his role in communications during that period.
So where have the big official investigations landed? The WHO's first mission.
Their 2021 report called A Lab Origin extremely unlikely. But it was heavily criticized for lack of access and transparency provided by China.
And the WHO chief later said it wasn't completely off the table.
He did acknowledge that, yes. But China hasn't been open to further investigation on their soil.
What about the U.S. intelligence community? Still split.
Still divided, yeah. Most agencies lean slightly towards natural origin, but with low confidence. A couple at the FBI and the Department of Energy lean towards a lab leak with low to moderate confidence.
But they agree it wasn't a bioweapon.
Consensus on that point, yes, not a weapon.
And then there's the U.S. Congress, the House Select Subcommittee.
Their final report, late 2024, concluded that the preponderance of evidence points towards a lab leak. They cited the virus's characteristics, data suggesting a single introduction point initially, the WIV's research, and those reports of early illnesses there.
Okay, so bringing us fully up to 2025, what's the latest? Still finding more bat viruses.
Research continues, yes. More bat coronaviruses found, some with features like furin cleavage sites, but still no direct ancestor of SARS-CoV-2.
Market role still debated. Intelligence view still divided.
Pretty much, yes. The Huanan market's precise role spillover versus amplification is still discussed. U.S. Intel hasn't really shifted its overall assessment.
And the House Subcommittee stands by its lab leak conclusion. The Eco-Health Department is in effect. WHO wants more data.
Exactly. WHO is pushing for more transparency and data access, using a new One Health framework for future origin studies. But whether China will cooperate remains, a major question mark.
So wrapping this up, the bottom line seems to be zoonotic spillover still looks the most probable based on current scientific evidence, the genetics, market links, multiple spillovers.
But the lab leak possibility just can't be dismissed, especially with the type of research happening at WIV, the reported safety concerns, and the real lack of transparency.
Right. It's a really complex puzzle, isn't it?
Yeah.
And for listeners, the key takeaway is probably that we don't have a final, definitive answer in 2025.
And it really underscores how hard tracing new diseases can be and how geopolitics can frankly get in the way of the science.
Okay, final thought then. Regardless of exactly how this pandemic started, what's the most crucial thing the world needs to do right now to be better prepared next time and maybe ensure investigations are more open and collaborative? Something to think about. Thanks for joining this deep dive.
I'm not a king, I am not a saint. I have problems in my head, my friends told me I've changed. And I used to be gold like the first man made. Now I'm buried in the earth till the